I was hesitant for a long time to use any form of AI. I'm like, oh, I don't want them to collect data, stuff like, stuff you worry about as a cybersecurity type person. But I
Hmm.
was like, you know what? They keep talking about it at all the security conferences. It's not going anywhere. It's just getting bigger, better. I said I got to start messing with it.
Welcome back to another installment of the Next Gen Case Study Series. On this episode today, we have Mike Bishop, who is the co-founder of Systix Solutions. He has extensive experience in cybersecurity and technology solutions, and Mike has led Systix Solutions to become a trusted provider of innovative and reliable cybersecurity services. His expertise is in enhancing security measures and streamlining business operations, which is why we're excited to have him on the show today. Mike, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I'm excited to kind of dig into some of the work that you're doing. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of all of that, I'd love to get kind of a Cole's Notes version of your history, where you came from, how you ended up as the co-founder of Systix Solutions.
It all started out. I was a Army veteran. I joined the Army after I got out of high school back in 2001. Spent 12 years in the Army. Got out in 2013. And then shortly after, I needed something to do. I needed to figure something out. So my buddy was like, "Man, cybersecurity is the way to go." So I went to UMBC Training Center. Took a cyber operations course. It was 9 month in depth, and man, I came out with a job shortly after being in that program. And I also got certifications, and I've been using them ever since.
So, in terms of some of your day-to-day stuff, what's kind of your main role inside of Systix?
Right now, we are working on a comic book that is going to teach kids as well as anyone else that is interested in it about cybersecurity. So I've noticed throughout the years that the biggest threat is in education. And the hardest thing is to educate some of the younger kids because everybody's got tablets, they got phones, everything, right? As well as older people.
Hmm.
So I was trying to figure out a way that would help. And so I decided to try and come up with a comic book that's going to help. I just not really like teach everybody about how to do cybersecurity, but just the basic things like what to look out for, phishing, you know, social engineering type scams. And in doing that, I actually used AI a lot in helping me design this because I'm not a comic book writer. So I needed help with figuring out names for the city that I came up with, or just coming up with different ideas on how to relay the information while still making it fun to read.
I am absolutely in love with this approach. I think that is a very innovative. I'm a nerd on two fronts. So the first one is comic books and that sort of thing. It's kind of a shared experience that me and my dad have. And beyond that, I'm a super nerd for the marketing aspect of all of this. And I love how just right from the beginning, it reminds me of like a free book funnel where you have something really cool, really interesting, really valuable, entertaining, useful to the audience that you hope to serve, and you share it with them
Mhm.
for the purposes of like establishing and setting up that relationship. Is that kind of the angle here with the work that you're doing?
Yeah, in a way, like I said, I know like my kids, I got three young kids and they watch us. They started scrolling as soon as he could touch the phone. I mean, he was doing all sorts of stuff. So the biggest thing is trying to get them a little bit of knowledge on, okay, you can't touch click on every website or go to all the YouTube links that everybody sends you to. So I figured this was the best way to kind of get them to relate just a little bit more.
Right. And help them understand some of the dangers in all of that, which is
Exactly. Yes.
super powerful. So walk me through then a little bit of what your, I guess, customer experience journey looks like from that point of discovery when they find you and they learn what you're up to, and then, how do you kind of work them into becoming a part of the business?
Well, this is a brand new thing that I just started back in March, so it's still kind of in the early stages. But I've been using Meta AI's program to be able to come up with different pictures and different things in order to share with my low following, but slowly growing. I've also used AI for all sorts of different ways to come around with how do I come up with my car, or different things to just help my overall, I don't know, design of this, I guess.
Right, right. And so once you kind of cross, I guess, the proverbial finish line in terms of like the creation of this, what are the plans for getting it in the hands of the right people?
Well, I'm not an illustrator, so I reached out to my brother-in-law who actually works on comics, and he is actually my designer and my creator of all the different characters that I have in this. So I reached out to him, and then from there, we're going to reach out to some of his comic book connections to hopefully get this published. And then we have besides Systics, we have a little like home company that we're going to sell it out of as well, because we go to markets and stuff. And then I'm using a lot of my cybersecurity connections to push it out as well. So every time I go to like a security conference or something like that, I would bring this up just to kind of get it out there.
It's such a great conversation starter too, to be able to, just mention that, hey, this is something that we're working on, and then you kind of get that fascination from the audience that you're sharing it with.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. And just like you got excited right away, almost everybody is the same way about it. So it makes me want to do this even more, and to put more of myself into it. So
Yeah, a lot of this, the entrepreneurial work that you do, it does kind of have to come from a place of inspiration. It has to be kind of authentic and true to who you are. Do you find that that's kind of where this comes from?
absolutely. The way that made it, like I've written the first issue. My illustrator's working on all the pictures and the different frames for that one. But I got so excited, I actually started writing a second issue, because otherwise I'm just kind of twiddling my thumbs and doing stuff. So like I'm so excited about this and how to hopefully help a lot of these younger generation learn a little bit about the threats out there. So,
Right.
and like I said, I put myself into it. So it's kind of like loosely based off myself,
Hmm.
and as well as my wife, my fam, or my kids, my nephews. It just makes it easier to write when I have the character to associate with in real life.
So, Mike, are you the Batman character, the Joker character, or are you the kindly butler character?
No, I'm actually the lead character. His name is Cyber Sentinel, and he has his trusty sidekick, Bite Retriever, BYTE. It's based off of
That's
my
cool.
dog that
Yeah.
I had, and so they're the combo. So you'll see, like, I can actually show it to if you wanted me to, the pictures, but it's loosely like a military style in a way, but
Hmm.
he doesn't have guns because he uses his cyber type stuff. So in a way, it's kind of like Iron Man, in with a little bit of Superman in a way, because he's a farming guy, just like I kind of am. So
Ah, cool. That's such a unique way to communicate with the audiences that you intend to serve. So beyond the comic book and some of the work that you're doing there, tell me a little bit more about Systics and the core stuff that you do inside of the business.
well, my mainly thing is just to be the IT kind of go to. So I mean, I kind of play the CO, or was it the CISO or whatever kind of role. So
Mhm.
I manage everything. It's really just my wife and I, and then we have a couple contracts where we had some employees. So it's not like a hugely run business. It's a small business that one of the other companies that I used to work for got us to start it,
Mhm.
so he could kind of like mentor us. And that happened back in 2017. So we've been slowly just kind of figuring out what we want to do. Do we want to continue on with government contracting? Do we want to pursue more of the comic book, education, cyber side? So we're still just trying to figure out our next route.
So who did you mainly spend a lot of your time serving? Like what demographic or what kind of audience? I get that kind of the younger
Uh,
group is where we're aiming next, but or some of your early stuff, where were you aiming then?
It was more government. We had government contracts for Senate or Health and Human Services type government contracts,
So,
IT
okay,
related.
that one's really tough because there's the two most common business models out there, which is a business to consumer or a business to business type scenario. But less talked about or less known is business serving government. And I'm really curious how you kind of came about an opportunity like that for anybody who is also kind of in that space who doesn't know that that's an option. I'd love to get your perspective on how you kind of got through it.
Sure. Well, I was a government contractor for about 7.5 years. And because I was on that government contract, the owner of the company I worked for is like, look, I'd like to kind of help you out. It would help me out. And he did I can't remember, it was a mentor program. So they're allowed to, other bigger companies are allowed to mentor, say, either veteran-owned small businesses or veterans or disabled veteran, woman-owned. So they have like different contract layouts for each one of those demographics in the government. So they tend to get priority on a lot of them because they need to meet quotas for how many disabled veteran, how many woman-owned, and then 8A is another one. So there's so many different avenues. It would take me a while to go through all of them.
So, given your army experience, I imagine that was kind of the direction that you took.
Yeah, I saw it as continuation of my government service as well. And then I don't know. Like I said, after 7.5 years, I was, you know what? I'm gonna try the civilian side, see how that is. And then I did that for about two and a half, just under 2.5 years. And now I'm focusing more on cystic solutions and doing this comic.
Right, okay. So being that you are kind of a dynamic duo, as it were, to play on the comic book theme, what are some of the challenges that come up running such a lean company?
Well, trying to manage both of our times to be able to, we have three younger kids, so we
Hmm.
have to take turns on, okay, well, you go, you know, do the stuff that you got to do for a few hours, and then I'll watch them, and vice versa. Um, I honestly, I don't know how exactly we make it work. But my wife's a Navy veteran, so we're both military, oriented, and we just kind of push on no matter what the issue is. So.
So I imagine then, with a lot of that past experience, you rely pretty heavily on systems and structures inside of the business.
Oh, absolutely. We like to make tasks for ourselves. Like what do we got to get done this week? We'll do a list. Like, okay, if we don't finish it that week, we'll carry it over and add to what we got to do that week. So we always try and make sure that we're always accomplishing the tasks in which we need to continue on and push forward.
And so I imagine that I only have one kid myself, so I know the the challenge in being an entrepreneur and balancing the time with the family and time doing the work and finding clients and all that kind of stuff. And I know from my side of things, it really helped me to start leveraging some of the newer technologies and tools, that are out there, software programs, that kind of thing. I wonder if you could talk to some of those tools that you're using specifically, if there's anything kind of ace in your sleeve or kind of supporting tools that you use to keep the business running.
I don't know if I have an ace in the sleeve. I think the biggest thing is just being persistent. Like using social media is a big thing, and
Hmm.
I'm horrible at it. I really am not a big social media poster, but I try to now that I'm trying to push the comic. My wife is not only trying to do cystics, but we also have, like I said, our little small business within art where we like homemade soaps, candles, and stuff. Um, so pushing that stuff out on social media, using their new AI technologies that they have within it.
Hmm.
If I need to write a better post, I'll use like ChatGPT sometimes just to kind of fine tune different things. Um, just trying to push on as best we can.
And what has your experience been like leveraging some of this AI stuff? Because I know that the reviews are very diverse in opinion in terms of just how good or bad it is. From your
Well,
perspective, how useful has it been?
I was hesitant for a long time to use any form of AI. I'm like, oh, I don't want them to collect data, stuff like, stuff you worry about as a cybersecurity type person. But I
Hmm.
was like, you know what? They keep talking about it at all the security conferences. It's not going anywhere. It's just getting bigger, better. I said I got to start messing with it. So once I started messing with it, man, it's helped out in so many different little aspects that I normally would not notice had I not used it before. Like, it just makes things quicker, yeah, to accomplish.
Right. Could you give some examples of some of the ways that you've deployed it?
Like I said, English is not, I'm not the greatest at writing papers. That my wife is great at that, but I'll use, Grammarly, and then I'll use GPT to just say, hey, how does it look? And then I'll compare the two. Like, okay, that does sound so much better. I mean, it just fine tunes a lot of those little things, whether it's an email that I've written, or just like writing up something that we need to have for our business.
Hmm. And so, did you find that learning curve to be dramatic? Like, was it difficult for you to kind of get a grasp on how to use the tools, or was it easy for you?
Um, no, I found it fairly easy. It's all on how you actually word it. Just like you do on any type of search on Google or whatever, you're gonna get different results based on how you word it. So a lot of times I'd mess around on how I word, certain things. So I guess there is a little bit of I guess, a learning curve when it comes to that. But I think it's fairly self-explanatory. At least, text to text, I guess, is what they call ChatGPT.
Yeah, yeah, the generative text AI
Yeah.
and the like. It's such a constantly evolving environment to watch all of these technologies changing so quickly and then being used in ways that um, none of us even realize that in some cases that AI is being deployed.
I mean,
How do you keep up with it for yourself and for your business? There's so much to learn. Is it, uh, how do you approach that?
well, I mean, the best way is just playing with it. I mean, just like any other new tool, you get, the best way to learn sometimes is, or at least for me, I know everybody does differently, but man, if I get in there and mess with it and find all the different features or doing different things with it, that I think that's the best way to learn. For me personally, like I said, everybody's different, but
So looking into the future, just to kind of wrap things up here in a neat little package, what's on the horizon for you and Systics and some of the work that you're doing there?
well, like I said, hopefully we'll publish this first comic book. Um, and my goal is to at least publish one. If it goes somewhere, then I can continue on. But right now, I think that's our biggest goal, is to get this finalized and pushed out there to people to hopefully educate.
Yeah, that's a bold mission and a very valuable one. If well, I'm not going to say if, I would like to say when it does connect with the right audience. I imagine there's going to be a pretty significant impact on the people that you're going to influence. So it's the work that you're doing is admirable. Uh, to kind of close things off here, Mike, if you had one piece of advice for somebody else who's kind of in a similar position or role as you, who's kind of interested
If
in maybe exploring some of these new technologies, what would that piece of advice be?
you're interested in, just start playing with them because you're not going to learn from them if you don't, at least pick it up and play per se. I know you don't pick up the computer, um, but I mean, playing with is the best thing. That's the best way I've learned from my cybersecurity stuff, whether it's, you know, practicing breaking passwords or, doing penetration tests or anything like that, practice. Just messing around. Everything's on Google if you need to. I mean, YouTube's got everything. So, research and play.
I love I love that play is the word that you use because sometimes it can feel like work. So to keep
Well,
it
yeah, it does. Sometimes, man, I mean, when I first got into this, I got a Raspberry Pi. I started playing with that. I was messing with Kali Linux and messing with my old computers to see if I could break into them. So, like I said, play.
yeah, you can't break it, so get in there and mess around. I love that. Mike, if somebody wanted to reach out to you to maybe pick your brain further, work with you, or even grab a copy of that comic book once it gets published, how would one go about doing that?
You can reach out to Cyber Sentinel Comic at gmail.com. I'm also I have a Cyber Sentinel Facebook page, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I have Instagram, but like I said, I'm bad with it. You can also reach out to Systics. I believe we have our emails on there. It's just mbishop@systics.us. So
Very accessible. You're a very accessible guy.
I try to be
Yeah. Well,
somewhat.
yeah. We'll make sure to link to all that stuff in the show notes. For anybody that's trying to get in touch with me and my team, it's nextgengrowth.com. Otherwise, that's it for this episode, and I will see you in the next.